Hey, welcome to this week's Table Talk podcast. It's Caleb. I'm here with David on a cloudy, rainy Tuesday morning. And I don't know what the weather's supposed to be like this week, but I have a feeling Thursday might look the same when this podcast comes out. So if it's rainy for you, hope you're having a good morning or day so far. And the sunshine will come again soon, we hope.
Yep. It'll come.
It'll
happen. Yeah, I want to be the person that says, we needed it. Mm-hmm. We needed it.
Need a little bit of rain.
We needed it. So we did need it, but it always makes the days a little longer. It makes the naps better, though.
It does make the naps better. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Sunday afternoon naps when it's raining is just, it's one of life's greatest pleasures.
Yep. Top notch.
Mm-hmm.
Top notch. We are also joined in the background here by our week-long high school intern.
Mm-hmm. Landon Jackson. He
is hanging out this week and is thinking about ministry and what he wants to do for that. But
could you imagine if every internship was just 1 week?
That'd be nice.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it would be nice.
I mean, that'd be really cool.
So, I've had like a 16-year-long internship.
Yeah. And you still don't know what you're doing.
I still don't know what I'm doing. I'm still figuring it out.
Same.
So
I think my entire life after graduating high school has just been one long internship, and I just keep failing the test.
Yes, that's probably right. Over and over
that's
and
right.
again, I'm there.
Yeah. But no, it's cool to have Landon hanging out with us, and he's interested in ministry, and he's helping us out this week. And
so far, he's got to experience Sunday morning and did a bunch of children's ministry stuff on Sunday morning.
Came in starting point with me.
Yep. Then staff meeting.
Yeah, he came back today after staff meeting. Which is shocking. So
helped me clear out a closet. So getting into the real ministry. So.
And he's helping me too. We're starting Colossians on Sunday, and so he's helping me look through that passage and take some notes and kind of see where God's taking us for Sunday.
Yep. Yeah, so it's cool. It's been a fun thing to have this week, and we're glad he's here. This week we finished up our series in Rooted.
Yeah,
and it has been it's a great series, and I think you may have said this last week. It's like you reach the end of a series and you start kind of getting to where you're like, all right, I'm ready to go to this next, and excited about this next one.
Yeah,
and I agree, not because this whole series was great. I think it's super important for us to understand what our roots are. Like, what do you have to believe in order to be able to call yourself a Christian? What do you have to believe? And if you believe these things, it'll separate you from a lot of things. It'll help protect your heart and your mind from false teaching, from things like that. And it's ancient. It's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And we wrapped up that series with what is our greatest hope.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about the resurrection on Sunday, and I even said that Sunday that I get a little antsy toward the end of series, just ready to talk about something different. But the cool thing about ending this series is we got to end it on like the highest of high notes, which is the resurrection. And we talked about, we didn't necessarily get into like all the specific details of like what the resurrection is, because we talked about it a lot just a couple months ago in asking for a friend. So I kind of pushed people back and say, hey, if you're looking for like the technicalities of this, go back and watch that sermon. We did talk about how resurrection is bodily. It's physical. Our bodies will be raised when Jesus returns. Our bodies will be glorified like his. And our resurrected bodies will live forever with Jesus in the new creation. We talked about Jesus as the first fruits from among the dead. It's what Paul says in 1 Corinthians 15. And so we hit that and we said, okay, let's pretend for the morning that we all believe this is true. We're making this confession with the early church. How does that impact our lives? And so the rest of the morning was really about how do we live resurrection lives? How do we live without fear? How do we live with open hands? How do we live resurrection out together as a church community? And we could spend weeks talking about what resurrection life looks like, but there's just the few points we centered on Sunday, and just try to remind ourselves that, hey, resurrection is the truth. It is the end of the story. It's what Christians have believed for 2,000 years. Let's live as if it's real. And if we can do that, I think our lives become so much lighter and freer and more joyful.
Yeah, and what I love about this is the idea of that resurrection is something that we look forward to, and the hope that we have for after death, that we will be raised and that we will be part of the new creation and new heaven and new earth. That does give us hope. But that resurrection isn't just something that's happening in the past. It's something that's happening actively in our lives.
Yeah.
And so like with baptism being a great example of this is like, I'm dying to the things of this world, to the past, and I'm a new creation. It is gone, and the new creation is here, and it's a representative of the many times in my life daily that I have to die to myself and be resurrected and be made new. And so you talked some about that on Sunday.
Yeah, I talked about the idea that resurrection can show up at any place in our story, and that God is willing to step into any part of our life, whatever we feel is broken or messed up or out of sync or out of control. God is in the business of bringing dead things back to life. So he wants to step in and resurrect us both in the future after our death and when Jesus returns, because that's what Scripture tells us, that we were dead in our sins, and yet God, who is rich in mercy, has made us alive again through the power of Jesus Christ. So there is this resurrection on the big scale. There's also the resurrection he wants to do in our hearts right now. He wants us to live lightly and freely. He wants us to live joyfully and hopefully. He wants our relationships to look like resurrection. He wants us to forgive and to love and to serve each other and to feel alive in a world that is headed toward death, essentially. And so we did talk about that, and kind of the three main points we hit on with that was if we allow God in to do that resurrection work within us, we can start to live without fear. We can start to live with open hands, and we can start to live it out together. And we can get into the specifics of what that looks like, but just letting the reality of God showing up and resurrecting us right now lead us into a life that looks like we believe it's true.
Yeah, it's such a great message of like, man, how can this isn't just something way off in the future. This is active. This is happening right now, and because I think we can focus so heavily on heavenly, yeah, so heavily on the heavenly part of it, or what's to come, that we can actually lose focus of the things that God is resurrecting right now.
Yeah.
And it's like in your family, with your children, with your relationships, at work, God is resurrecting and can be making resurrections in those areas and be making them new in each one of those places in our lives. Yeah.
C.S. Lewis once said that some Christians are so heavenly minded, they're no earthly good. And so as we're talking about resurrections, like, yes, we do believe like that is our ultimate hope, that we will live forever. But it's not our only hope. Another hope we have is that we can live resurrection right now.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think there's a tension there, because I would say like some branches of like, particularly like American Christianity is only focused on life after death, and we kind of miss out like on what we're called to do here. There's another branch that maybe only focuses on what we're called to do here and forgets about like, oh no, there's a future here too.
Yeah.
And I think Jesus and the Scriptures in the Creed calls us to like hold both things together, that we can be resurrection people right now, and we'll be resurrection people in the future.
Yeah.
And we actually live as resurrection people now because of what's coming.
Yeah.
So we don't want to forget either one of those.
Yep. That's a great reminder of how we should be living. What are some ways, practical ways that this can change? Like maybe they're driving to work right now, or taking their kids to practice, or they are brushing their teeth. What are some practical ways that this can make an impact on their life? Yeah.
Well, the first thing is just to believe that resurrection is for you. So don't give up on what God can do in and through you and what God can redeem in your life. So wherever you're at right now, you may be thinking like, you know, my life feels over, or my life feels too messed up, or I'm too messed up, or I've done too many things wrong. The reality is that there is never a place that is too far for Jesus' love to reach into and to bring us back to life from. So that we have to believe that, and we have to ask him to do that, and I believe he will. The other parts of it are, you know, living without fear. Like if we believe we will live forever, then we can risk being embarrassed for being vocal about our faith. We can risk stepping into an awkward situation to pray for a coworker or a friend, even though it might feel uncomfortable. We can risk maybe losing influence or respect for people or from people if we take a stand and say, no, actually, I'm not going to participate in whatever this is because I follow Jesus and I just don't think I need to go there. At the farthest end of it, like living without fear means like we even trust that if we were to lose our life, because we talked about some of the early Christian martyrs and the persecution in Rome, if we were to lose our life even for the sake of the kingdom, it's not really gone because we will live forever. So this idea that because of the resurrection, we can live without fear, we can live boldly, we can live strong for the kingdom. So that was like the first part of it. Just like, where do we need to be bold? Like, where do we need to live without fear? What's holding us back? The next piece was living with open hands. And so the idea, if we don't have fear, if we're living without fear, if we believe that Jesus' perfect love casts out our fear, then we have nothing to hold on to or to protect. Like we don't have to hoard anything for ourselves. We trust that God will provide everything we need. So we can live generously. We can, if we ask God to show us people or situations that we could step in and help, like we may be able to help. We may be able to give money to help someone pay for their groceries. We may be able to step in and like give of our time to somebody who needs it, because what Jesus tells us, and Landon brought this up as he was kind of looking back to the sermon, helping us make notes for this, is that Jesus tells his followers, whoever loses home or father or mother or brother or wife or whatever for the sake of my kingdom will receive it back 100-fold in the age to come. So Jesus is saying, whatever you lay down for me, whatever you lose for me, it's not really a loss because I will restore it to you and more in the world to come. And so if we believe that, again, we can live with open hands and go, none of this is really mine anyways. Jesus gave it to me. He'll give it back. I'm just here to steward it and share it with other people. So I can share my time. I can share my energy. I can share my resources. I can share my affection and my attention, because Jesus' kingdom is an inexhaustible resource and God always has what we need. So there's the other part of it. It's like, how do I live generously, freely? And then the third part was we're called to do this together. So we're not called to live out resurrection alone. We're always called to do faith together. And so we experience and practice resurrection by the way we do life with each other. So the way we love each other and forgive each other and serve each other and put each other first, even in the way that we like resolve conflict with each other or have hard conversations together. Like that is a way we practice resurrection. And so the kind of that final call was like, how do we get involved and get closer to each other here? How do we become more intimate in our relationships with each other so that we can see and practice resurrection together? And I think part of that is living without fear and living with open hands. Sometimes we're afraid of connection, afraid of community, afraid to really give of ourselves to somebody else. And I think the resurrection allows us to go, nope, you have nothing to be afraid of. God will provide what we need. He can't run out. There's no lack in God's kingdom. And you can live this out together because that's the way God's made us to do it. Yeah. That's a long rant. Sorry.
No, that's perfect. You nailed it. So I would say, like, so if you're listening to this right now, it's like, what places are you scared to give God right now? Mm-hmm. What places are you feeling God tugging on your heart? Yep. And there's fear that you may lose a relationship or may lose your job or may lose or you may lose some respect in an area. What places, and I think if you really think about it and you pray about it, it'll probably, God could give you some of that. And what places can we join in unity? And I know some of the most anxious times that I have, I will be having anxiety about whether it's home or work or family or whatever it is. And when we have conversations or when I have conversations with other people, whether we agree on them or not, having those conversations promotes unity. Yep. And Satan loves fear. Yeah. He loves when people are scared to speak up. Yep. He loves when people when they are more worried about their job, or they're fearful of, well, how will I provide? I think that's a great message to ask yourself, and I'm going to do this today.
Yeah.
Ask what areas am I afraid to give to God right now?
Yeah.
And if whatever those areas are, why am I fearful? And pray to God, Lord, hey, I'm scared in this area.
Yeah.
Please provide and give me answers and lead me and guide me.
Yeah, no, that's good. And it's something I've wrestled with too, because I've had to go even as we're talking, my head's spinning, what am I not giving to God because I am afraid of what could happen? There are all areas of our lives, I think, where well, God, you can have this, I'll give you this, but I'm going to hold on to this because I don't trust you. And it may not even be that you don't trust God. It could be, I'm so afraid to let this go because I don't know what this looks like without me being in control of it anymore.
Or what I look like.
Or what I look like without it. Right. Yeah.
It's part of who I am.
Yes. Right. Exactly.
It's my identity. This is what I
And that can be anything. That can be your job.
Yeah.
That can be a relationship. That can be your hobbies. That can be
family.
The way your family, the way you identify yourself, whatever that could be. But I still think we have to trust that even in what we perceive as a loss, God makes all things work together for good. And I said this Sunday because, I wanted to make sure people knew what I wasn't saying. I'm not saying we shouldn't grieve losses. I'm not saying we shouldn't mourn. I'm not saying we shouldn't. I actually think grief is a holy thing. I think if we enter it well,
100%.
I'm not saying we should just be like the Stoics, or the Greek philosophers, or the ascetics. As nothing matters. Or some folks in different philosophies now say just kind of let everything go, detach. That's not what God calls us to. We're called to be so attached and to be so loving and so caring for people. But we're also called to trust that even in the losses, God is making things work together for good, and that one day it will all be made right. And so it is what are the places in my life? What are the places in your life where we need to allow the love of Jesus to cast out our fear? And I truly think that the reason we hold on to things so tightly is probably because we've not let the love of Jesus into that area. So how do I let the love of Jesus in to that area? And then how do I trust his love to cast out my fear so that I can let it go? And those are questions we all have to wrestle with. It's different for each of us, but I think it's what God calls us to.
Yeah. Going back to you saying that it's okay to grieve and things, I actually think a lot of times those losses feel even heavier when you're living your life like this, because you have made because your love for other people, your passions and the things, I believe the closer we get to God, the higher those get, or the bigger those get. My love for people is greater. And so because I'm scared, because I'm fearful of hurting those people, or my love for my work is even bigger, because it's not just about me anymore. My work is about what we're preparing to talk about next week, which is Christ is at the center, and I want him to be the reason I go to work. I want him to be the reason that I parent the way I parent. I want him to be the reason that I serve others. And so I think sometimes that it can even, the hurt and sometimes that struggle with that can be even deeper in those moments, if that makes sense.
No, it does. And I think we see that in Jesus. And I mentioned this Sunday, and Landon brought it up when we were talking about it. Jesus was traveling to Lazarus. He arrives, and Lazarus is dead. Lazarus is one of Jesus' closest friends. Lazarus is dead. Jesus knows he's going to raise him from the dead, and yet Jesus weeps over Lazarus' death. Now, you can go, well, why did he cry? It's well, he lost someone that he loved. Jesus is fully God, but he's also fully human. And I do think that Jesus, the depth of his love for people, surpasses what we can even comprehend. So just the fact that Lazarus had died affected the Lord so much that he weeps over it, and he knows he's going to bring him back. I think if we're growing in Jesus and we're becoming closer to him, losses will hurt. Like, we will grieve, especially death. Especially or broken relationships or whatever, because I think that the love we have for people in Jesus should be so like intense that we're moved to that level of grief. Now, not that we should be like codependent. We're not talking about, kind of an obsessive, unhealthy type of love, but like we should be moved for people. And so when something happens tragic, like it should affect us. But like Paul says to the Thessalonians, we don't grieve as those who grieve without hope. We grieve as those who do have hope, because we trust that even those who have gone to sleep, those who have passed on before us, when Jesus returns, he will raise them up. And so, we should grieve. We should mourn. We mourn with those who mourn. We mourn hard things in our own lives. We give that to God. But as we do that, we trust that he's going to redeem and restore everything beyond our wildest dreams.
Yeah.
And we just have to hold those two things together.
Yeah. Trust him beyond our own understanding and our own, that he's even bigger than our faith and even bigger than what we could ever imagine. And so that kind of goes into what you'll be talking about this Sunday.
Uh-huh.
You have Paul writing this letter to this church, and this first week is about making Christ that center and making him the first thing in everything, whether it's work or whether it's at your home with your family, in your marriage.
Yep.
That there should be no points in your life that Christ isn't first.
Yeah.
And that's what you're going to be opening up on, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I love Colossians. I love that book. I love that letter. I love the first chapter specifically is one of my absolute favorite pieces of scripture, because it talks about Jesus as the firstborn of all creation. He's the one through whom all things are made. And don't get hung up on that word. That's just the language Paul used. Jesus was not created, but he was the one through whom all things were created. Yeah. He is the one for whom and through whom all things are made. Paul says he is at the center of everything. And so with the Colossians specifically, they were dealing with this like heretical teaching that were trying to incorporate like spirit worship and things like that, and Jewish syncretism into the worship of Jesus. And Paul says, you don't need that. Don't be surrendered to empty philosophies and like elemental spirits anymore, but instead look to Jesus, who is the center of all things, the one through whom and for whom all things were made. He is your life. He is at the center. And so, yeah, for us, like, again, that's true on a really big grand picture scale. Like the entire rhythm of the universe is ran through Jesus. Like he holds everything together, but also in our lives, he should be the thing at the center of all of it. Yeah. And I think, we'll get into it Sunday, but it's it's so crucial to remember his place in the universe and then his place in our own lives. Yeah.
Yep. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about next week's podcast too, because I'm excited to dig deep into a lot of that, as far as what points and how has God changed everything in my life. Yep. Like, it's not that long ago that I think I've had realizations of like, man, God, I'm not letting God control this part of my life, or I'm not letting him be the head of that part of my life. And I got to make sure that I'm checking on that regularly. So I'm excited about that. I think that's going to be a great series. It's always exciting to start a new series. Yep. And so it's going to be really good. And I'm excited to hear it on Sunday. You did a great job this past Sunday. And if you haven't listened to that, you can go back and you can listen to that on this channel under the podcast, or you can go back and watch the whole service on YouTube. Yep. It'll be good. We'll start next week with Colossians and kick that off, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Really excited about it, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and we'll be right back here next week on the Table Talk Podcast. Have a good one.